Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on AMRAP sets. So AMRAP sets, if you're not familiar with the term, stands for as many reps as possible. And depending on why you're using these may be a good idea or maybe there's a better one. So firstly, what I would say is typically I would do these either A, with athletes with a high training age. So for example, myself, I've trained for 5 or 6 years now. I know how to safely get rid of a bar if it's for something like squats, and I know how many reps roughly I've got in the tank, give or take. Secondly, what I'd say is when I first started using them, it was great for me because I rated something as, for example, an 8 out of 10 effort, which technically means you should only be able to do 2 more reps with it if you had to, and then was hitting like double figure reps on my AMRAP set. So that's one anecdote. Secondly, if we're using them with youth athletes or, for example, youth female athletes, they're also great every once in a while to show them just how far away from failure they are. However, my caveat to that would be with youth athletes, I would typically call these AMRAP sets as many reps as pretty. So this is a term stolen from GMB Fitness and basically says that as soon as the reps start to look a little bit ugly, set's over. With youth athletes, there's really no point in chasing ugly reps because 1, you're increasing injury risks potentially. 2, you're encouraging bad technique, and 3, in the wrong type of athlete, they can take this way too far. Young boys being a prime example, wanting to show off, and before you know it, the adaptation that you're chasing is lost, and you just get into the bad habit of ego lifting. Where I think AMRAP sets do have some uses is for hypertrophy. So for example, if you're going to failure with more localized muscular type exercises, so for example, if you are using machines which do have their place in rehab settings, if it's an exercise that is not particularly limited by coordination, or there's not really a high risk attached to it, so for example single leg work, or for example a dumbbell split squat, dumbbell lunges where you can just easily drop the weight, so you need to know how that exercise is going to end. Whereas if you're doing something like a barbell riff or elevated split squat and you're going to failure on something like that, that's when it gets tricky because there's no safe way of getting rid of the bar off of your back. So in summary, if you're using it with experienced athletes with a high training age, yep, fine. If you're keeping an eye on technique and you've got something or someone to keep you accountable, such as a video or an experienced coach, then fine. If you're using them with youth athletes, they're useful every once in a while, especially if you're trying to demonstrate to your athlete that they do need to add more weight to the bar because things are too easy. So for example, young female athletes is typically going to be the type of athletes who underload themselves. And equally, if you're using an as many reps as possible set to then calculate, for example, projected 1 rep maxes for the next block. But again, bear in mind that as soon as you're going above 10 reps in an exercise or even towards 10 in an exercise, then the 1 rep max calculations are going to get a little bit fuzzier for every rep that you go above 10. So I hope you found that useful. Let me know if you use as many reps as possible sets in your training, but make sure that you actually have efficient technique before you start trying to max any of this stuff out.